Right now, thousands of retirees across America are missing out on extra Social Security income they've already earned, and most don't even know it exists. If you've been receiving Social Security benefits and haven't reviewed your payment strategy lately, you could be leaving significant money on the table. The Social Security Administration has specific claiming strategies and benefit adjustments that many seniors overlook. And with November 1st marking a critical deadline for certain applications and appeals, time is running out to maximize what you've rightfully earned after decades of hard work. What most people don't realize is that Social Security isn't just a one-size-fits-all payment. There are legitimate ways to increase your monthly checks through spousal benefits, delayed retirement credits, and correcting past filing errors. But only if you know where to look and act before key deadlines pass. Today, we're cutting through the confusion and breaking down exactly what this November 1st deadline means for your benefits, who qualifies for additional payments, and the specific steps you need to take right now to ensure you're not leaving your hard-earned money with the government. Let's get into the facts you need to know. When I first started looking into this whole Social Security situation, I was honestly shocked at how much money people are missing out on simply because they don't understand how the system actually works. We're talking about real dollars here, money that belongs to you, money that you've paid into the system your entire working life. And the truth is, the Social Security Administration isn't exactly going out of their way to make sure you know about every single benefit you're entitled to. They process millions of claims, and if you don't ask the right questions or file the right paperwork, well, you might just miss out on what's rightfully yours. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening here. Social Security has always been this complex web of rules, regulations, and deadlines that change depending on when you were born, when you started claiming, whether you're married, divorced, or widowed, and even how much you earned during your highest earning years. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where someone keeps changing the pieces on you. And that November 1st deadline we're talking about? It's not some random date the government picked out of thin air. This date is critically important for specific types of benefit applications, reconsiderations, and appeals that could literally change your monthly income for the rest of your life. Now, before we dive deeper, I want to make something crystal clear. When we talk about a Social Security bonus, we're not talking about some lottery system or some shady scheme. What we're really discussing are legitimate strategies and provisions within the Social Security system that allow eligible recipients to increase their monthly benefits through proper planning, timely applications, and understanding the full scope of what's available to them. Think of it like this. If you were entitled to take a tax deduction but didn't know it existed, you'd be overpaying on your taxes year after year. The same principle applies here with Social Security. The reality is that Social Security benefits are calculated based on your 35 highest earning years, but that's just the baseline. There are so many additional factors that can boost your payments, and most people have no idea these opportunities even exist. For instance, if you delayed claiming your benefits past your full retirement age, you're earning delayed retirement credits that increase your benefit by 8% for each year you wait, up until age 70. That's a guaranteed return you won't find anywhere else in today's economy. But here's the kicker. If you didn't file properly, or if there were errors in your earnings record, you might not be getting those credits you deserve. Let's talk about something that affects millions of married couples and people who've been divorced. Spousal benefits can provide up to 50% of your spouse's full retirement age benefit amount, and divorced spousal benefits work similarly if you were married for at least 10 years. But the Social Security Administration isn't going to automatically give you these benefits. You have to know to ask for them, and you have to file the correct applications. I've heard countless stories of people who were eligible for spousal benefits for years, but never received them because they simply didn't know to file a separate application. That's money lost forever because most benefits aren't paid retroactively beyond a certain point. And speaking of retroactive benefits, this is where timing becomes absolutely crucial. If you're past your full retirement age and you haven't yet filed for Social Security, you can actually request up to 6 months of retroactive benefits in a lump sum when you do file. 6 months of Social Security payments hitting your account all at once can make a real difference, especially if you're dealing with unexpected expenses or medical bills. But again, you have to know to ask for it, and you need to understand the trade-offs, because taking those retroactive payments means your ongoing monthly benefit will be calculated as if you filed 6 months earlier, which means slightly smaller monthly checks going forward. Now let's get into what makes November 1st so important. The Social Security Administration operates on strict deadlines for various types of requests and appeals. If you've received a determination letter about your benefits and you disagree with it, you typically have 60 days from the date you receive that letter to file an appeal or reconsideration. Miss that deadline, and you might have to start the entire application process over from scratch, potentially losing months or even years of benefits you should have been receiving. November 1st represents a critical deadline for people who received certain types of notices back in early September. And if you're one of those people, you absolutely cannot afford to let this date pass without taking action. But there's more to it than just appeals. The Social Security Administration also has specific enrollment periods for Medicare Part B and Part D, and missing these enrollment periods can result in permanent late enrollment penalties that increase your premiums for as long as you have Medicare coverage. We're talking about penalties that could cost you thousands of dollars over your lifetime, and all because you missed a deadline you didn't even know existed. November 1st falls within the general enrollment period for certain Medicare decisions, and if you need to make changes to your coverage, or if you delayed enrollment when you first became eligible, you need to understand exactly where you stand. Here's something else that doesn't get talked about nearly enough: the importance of checking your Social Security earnings record regularly. The Social Security Administration bases your benefit calculation on the earnings they have on record for you, but mistakes happen. Employers sometimes report earnings incorrectly, names get misspelled, Social Security numbers get transposed, and if your earnings aren't properly credited to your account, your future benefits will be lower than they should be. You can create a My Social Security account online and review your entire earnings history. And if you spot any errors, you can work with the Social Security Administration to get them corrected. But here's the catch: there are time limits on how far back you can go to correct errors, so the sooner you check your record, the better. Let me share something that might surprise you. There are also survivor benefits that many widows and widowers don't fully understand. If your spouse passed away and was receiving Social Security or would have been eligible to receive it, you might be entitled to survivor benefits that could be higher than your own retirement benefit. The rules around survivor benefits are complicated, and the timing of when you claim them versus when you claim your own retirement benefit can dramatically impact how much money you receive over your lifetime. Some people can actually claim survivor benefits first and then switch to their own retirement benefit later when it reaches its maximum value, or vice versa. But navigating these decisions requires understanding the specific rules that apply to your situation. Another area where people leave money on the table involves disability benefits transitioning to retirement benefits. If you've been receiving Social Security disability insurance and you're approaching your full retirement age, your disability benefits will automatically convert to retirement benefits. Most people assume this transition happens smoothly and that their benefit amount stays the same, and usually it does. But there are situations where reviewing your benefit calculation at this transition point could reveal errors or opportunities to increase your payment. It's worth having your records reviewed by someone who understands the system inside and out. We also need to talk about the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, because these two rules affect hundreds of thousands of Americans and can significantly reduce Social Security benefits for people who spent part of their career in jobs that didn't pay into Social Security. If you worked for a state or local government, or if you had a job covered by a pension system rather than Social Security, These provisions might reduce your Social Security benefits or your spousal benefits. Understanding exactly how these rules affect you is critical, and there are specific calculations and exceptions that could minimize the impact. Some people qualify for exceptions they don't even know about, and missing out on these exceptions means accepting smaller benefits than you should be receiving. The cost of living adjustments that Social Security recipients receive each year are based on the Consumer Price Index, but what many people don't realize is that your initial benefit amount sets the baseline for all future increases. If your initial benefit calculation was wrong, or if you claimed earlier than optimal for your situation, every cost of living adjustment you receive throughout retirement will be applied to that lower base amount. Over a 20 or 30-year retirement, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in lost benefits. This is why getting your initial claiming decision right is so incredibly important, and why reviewing your benefit calculation for errors before or shortly after you start receiving benefits can have such a massive impact on your lifetime income. Let's also address something that causes a lot of confusion: the earnings test. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and you continue working, Social Security will reduce your benefits if you earn more than a certain threshold. For 2024, that threshold is around $21,000 per year, and for every $2 you earn above that limit, Social Security withholds $1 in benefits. But here's what they don't always explain clearly: those withheld benefits aren't gone forever. When you reach your full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit to account for the months when benefits were withheld, which increases your ongoing monthly payment. Still, many people don't understand this and end up making claiming decisions based on incomplete or incorrect information about how the earnings test actually works. Now, you might be wondering how all of this connects to that $2,400 figure we mentioned at the beginning. Here's the reality: if you're missing out on spousal benefits, if you have errors in your earnings record, if you didn't claim certain benefits you were eligible for, or if you need to appeal a decision that reduced your benefits, correcting these issues could easily increase your annual Social Security income by $2,000, $3,000, or even more, depending on your specific situation. We're not talking about a one-time bonus payment in most cases. We're talking about an increase in your monthly benefit that continues for the rest of your life, and that receives cost of living adjustments every year, just like your regular benefit does. The key to maximizing your Social Security benefits is understanding that this isn't a passive system. You can't just file your application and assume everything will automatically work out in your favor. You need to be proactive, you need to review your earnings record, you need to understand all the different types of benefits you might qualify for, and you need to meet the deadlines that apply to your situation. That November 1st deadline we've been talking about represents a critical action point for anyone who received a notice from Social Security in early September. And even if that specific deadline doesn't apply to you, there are other deadlines throughout the year that could affect your benefits. I want you to think about your Social Security benefits as something you've earned through decades of hard work and payroll taxes. This isn't a handout. This is your money that you paid into a system with the promise that it would be there for you in retirement. You owe it to yourself to make sure you're getting every single dollar you're entitled to receive. That means taking the time to educate yourself about how the system works, reviewing your personal situation to identify any opportunities to increase your benefits, and taking action before critical deadlines pass. The difference between understanding these rules and ignoring them could literally be the difference between a comfortable retirement and struggling to make ends meet.